Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. To the South Carolina fans that follow this program on the recruiting trail, many of y'all know what time it is. It is official visit season, and Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks are wasting absolutely no time getting some of the best kids from across the country on campus this weekend to kind of kick off the official visit month. Before we get into the players that will be on campus for South Carolina, I want to start with where this South Carolina program sits going into a massive month of recruiting. And I look at South Carolina and say there are not many programs across the country that have built the momentum that South Carolina has. And I'm not only talking about on the field where they had a ton of success in the 2024 year. We think they're going to have a ton of success in 2025 as well. I'm talking about off the field as well. There are not many programs that have created a culture like South Carolina has over the last couple of years. This program checks so many boxes for these kids at the high school recruiting trail ranks that we haven't really seen South Carolina operate like this in the last couple of years. When you look at competing at the highest level, and we expect South Carolina to do that over the next couple of years. You look at developing guys to the NFL. South Carolina had 3 guys go in the top 50 of the NFL draft a couple of weeks ago. You talk about playing freshmen early. South Carolina has had a bunch of dudes that have played early for South Carolina as true freshmen. There's really no boxes that are left unchecked for the South Carolina program. Now, all those things that we just talked about, you go back 5 years, how many things could South Carolina really sell to these kids at the high school ranks? Now they're selling the whole package. And so I think for a lot of South Carolina fans, you're looking towards this 2026 class and saying, hey, can we build something special? And the 2026 cycle and this weekend represents an opportunity to really build some momentum. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, to the South Carolina fans, appreciate you guys, whether we're talking the recruiting trail, whether we're talking the transfer portal, whether we're talking spring practice, the amount of support y'all continue to show to the fellas has been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it now. Let's start with one of the more fascinating prospects in this 2026 cycle. That is 4-star edge rusher Carter Meadows from the DMV area. Important to mention, South Carolina has had a lot of success with kids from this area. Obviously with Nick Harbor, obviously with Dylan Stewart. And if you are South Carolina, you are selling first and foremost the edge rusher development that we've seen from this program. Not only Dylan Stewart, like taking over the country in 2024 as a true freshman, but you're selling what you did with Kyle Kennard as well. If you're Carter Meadows, you're looking at a program that, hey, where am I going to get developed the best? Carter Meadows is a unique kid. I don't know if he's necessarily the best football player in the country as we speak right now, but you talk about a ceiling, you talk about what this kid could look like 24 months down the road, you could be looking at a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. 6'6", 225, extremely long arms, elite first step off the line of scrimmage. His length is such a problem for offensive linemen, specifically in the pass rush. But then you turn on the film and say, he's really good against the run too because of that length, because of his ability to get off blocks. Carter Meadows is a dream for a coach like Sterling Lucas. Like if you're Sterling Lucas, give me Carter Meadows, give me 12 months with him, and let's see what kind of football player that we can put out there. And the other thing I'll say is South Carolina emerging as, at least in my opinion, one of the best strength and conditioning programs that you see across the country as well. Carter Meadows got to add a little bit more weight to that frame. What better place to do it than South Carolina? You know, I'm a Michigan fan. I would love to see Carter Meadows up in Ann Arbor. But if there's another spot where I would like to see Carter Meadows just because I want to see him get developed, it'd probably be South Carolina. Number 2 on the list, let's go on another. Let's stick on the defensive liner. I mean, really, PJ Dean, two-way kid, right? Could either play offensive line or on the defensive line at the collegiate ranks. Very good on both sides of the football at the high school ranks. I view him the most as a 3-tech, like a penetrating 3-tech, almost like a guy like TJ Sanders. Now, he's a little bit taller, a little bit longer than TJ Sanders, but very similar play style. where, hey, I'm going to win because I'm an athlete and I'm just a better athlete than the interior offensive linemen that are trying to block me. I look at PJ Dean and say that there's not many defensive linemen that wear 260 pounds like this kid. I mean, it's not a lot of body fat on his frame. He's an explosive athlete with elite athleticism. Still probably needs to fill out that frame a little bit. But what I would say is South Carolina has had success with these kind of interior defensive linemen. But number two, these are the kind of defensive linemen that South Carolina wants. I mean, South Carolina's defense is a penetrating defensive line. We want our guys to get upfield, get into the backfield, and create havoc. That's PJ Dean's game. Like, he's not this 6'2", 320-pound nose that's going to eat up double teams. He's a little bit smaller, a little bit more athletic, really good at penetrating. That's the player I see in PJ Dean, and that's exactly what South Carolina wants in their interior defensive lineman. Like, if you're Shane Beamer, you're selling, hey, what happened with TJ Sanders? Very similar skill set, very similar scheme. That's how we're going to use a guy like PJ Dean as well. Now, as an offensive lineman, look, if you wanted to play guard, I think he'd be a very good guard at the collegiate ranks too. My take on PJ Dean is I don't care what position he plays. Get him into your program. You figure out the rest later. But this is a guy that has what I would say is, some special athleticism for the frame, for the size. Go bet on this kid every single day of the week. Next one on the list, JB Shabbaz, another kid from North Carolina. We're going from West Forsyth to East Forsyth. This is like a tackle made in a laboratory, right? 6'7", 300 pounds, extremely long arms. A little bit raw, probably is going to need a year before he's ready to play at the SEC level. I mean, we've seen South Carolina trot out some true freshmen. You look at Josiah Thompson or look like Tree last couple of years. I would be surprised if JB Shabbaz would play early for South Carolina because I think there are some things in his game that he needs to clean up. He's the kind of guy that South Carolina has liked to bet on the high school trail. And that's one of the things that fires me up the most about where Shane Beamer's taking this program. Their recruiting on the offensive line's been really good. I mean, it's blue chip city on that offensive line. They've supplemented through the transfer portal well too, but I think Shane Beamer's getting it done, recruiting the offensive line position out of the high school ranks. JB Shabbaz would be another one of those bodies that you just want to put in that pipeline. And look what he's going to become 2-3 years down the road. Two more guys we got to talk about. Number one, Carrie Adams. He has the potential to be the best cornerback in this 2026 cycle. I mean, there are just not many boundary cornerbacks that have the athletic profile that this kid has. Now, he has seen his recruitment absolutely take off over the last 12 months. South Carolina, I don't think is the leader in the clubhouse for this kid. But one thing unique about South Carolina is they were one of the first Power 4 teams to offer him. Like, he was not a kid who was a 4 or 5-star prospect as a freshman, sophomore. His kind of burst onto the scene after the last couple of months. South Carolina was one of the first ones to identify him. Could that matter in this recruitment? Quite possibly. Carrie, I mean, this kid is, in my opinion, very easy to sell to the South Carolina fans. He's 6'2", 180 with a 10.7 in the 100-meter dash. He's extremely long. He's physical at the line of scrimmage, really good short area quickness, and the ability to run with wide receivers down the field. When we're evaluating these boundary cornerbacks at the high school ranks, we look for three things. One, size. You look at the size of these SEC wide receivers. If you want to play boundary in the SEC, you got to have the frame. You got to have the size. Carrie Adams has that. Number two, do you have the speed to run with these SEC wide receivers down the field? Carrie Adams, one of the best sprinters in the country, certainly has the long speed to run with anybody down the field. Then lastly, ball skills. When that football is in the air, do you know what you're doing? Carrie Adams, elite pass catcher too, plays two ways in the state of Maryland. He's a guy that has the ball skills too. Can operate in press man coverage with that length and with that physicality, but also is really good sitting back in zone and just crunching down on throwing windows. He's really long. He's really explosive, knows how to get his hands on the football. One of those box checking boundary cornerbacks. Last name we'll talk about, wide receiver Travis Johnson. Now, South Carolina, what it sounds like, did an elite job in 2025 signing wide receivers. the amount of buzz from those early enrollee freshman wide receivers was very high during spring practice. I don't think you'll see South Carolina sign 4 or 5 wide receivers in the 2026 cycle, but they're going to try to be selective and try to get some guys that are high on their board. Travis Johnson, a lot to like about him. And as a Michigan fan, it seems like South Carolina and Michigan are going to be going at it on the recruiting trail. This is another big target for Michigan as well. 6'3", buck 85. My favorite part about Travis Johnson's game is he can win in so many different ways. In an era of high school wide receivers where it seems like so many of these kids are just one-dimensional track and field vertical guys, Travis Johnson brings so much to the table. Like, yes, he can win vertically down the field. That might be one of his best assets of his game. Very clean route runner, very smooth mover. Body control is exceptionally good. Dynamic after the catch. The way I look at Travis Johnson is like there are so many different ways you can use this kid to win and get open, which not a lot of wide receivers can say coming out of high school. It's a smaller official visit weekend for South Carolina, but they are playing host to some of their biggest targets in this 2026 cycle. I'm really excited to see what comes out of this weekend. And the second part is, again, utilize the momentum that you have created around your program and try to get that going on the recruiting trail. The best way to have staying power in the world of college football is, all right, you go out and win a lot of football games, build that momentum. How do you make that last? Go capitalize with that momentum on the recruiting trail. That's what South Carolina is going to try to do. We'll close it down there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.